Theravada traditions temples in the United States. So all these things happen with the help of these pioneer monks, particularly Bhante Ji and Bhante Dikwala Piyananda and Bope Vinita. These three monks are the remarkable. Among these three monks, Bhante Ji was able to address these people in this country with the help of his fluency of English. So then he got a chance to travel around the universities and the countries to introduce the teachings of the Buddha. And same time, Bhante Ji started to help American people to learn Buddhism, write in books and provide in articles. So one of his remarkable book is Mindfulness in Plain English. Mindfulness in Plain English has been translated into 32 languages, and it is a book as a bestseller book recognized by Wisdom Publication more than 10 years as a bestseller book. Almost in this country, 10 million copies had been sold so far. So this is the way how Bhante Ji became a remarkable person in this country as well as in the world. 2021, concerning about all these facts, I have been suggested to the Sri Lankan government to honor issue in a stamp, national stamp. So during those days, the Prime Minister was Mahinda Rajapaksa. So he suggested this particular suggestions to the government. They accepted, and then they issued a stamp last June 4th. June 4th was a kind of national day because it is the day that we celebrate in Sri Lanka Maha Mahinda Thero, or the day that we get to know about the Buddhism by Venerable Mahinda Thero. So it is also kind of remarkable day. Using that remarkable day, the government of Sri Lanka issue a stamp to honor Bhante Gunarathana. So he is 95 years old, almost 96 years old. He was not able to travel to Sri Lanka. That is the advice given by the doctors. Therefore, on behalf of him, I participated in that ceremony. The ambassador, His Excellency Mahinda Samarasinghe, said to me, Bhante, even though Bhante Ji is not able to go to Sri Lanka, why we are not having a ceremony here in this embassy? So he suggested and he organized this ceremony to honor Bhante Ji. Because of all these things, then today we gathered here to celebrate particularly that a stamp as well as to honor Bhante's wonderful great service to the world, not just only the United States. But there is a particular thing, the Sri Lankan embassy is celebrating 75th anniversary of relationship with the United States. So all these things coming together. So Bhante Ji, even though he is not an ambassador, but he is an ambassador appointed by the Buddhist community, not the Sri Lankan government, but Buddhist community. So therefore, Bhante Ji has connection with all these universal ethnic groups, Sri Lankan, American, Vietnamese, Cambodian, Burmese, Thai, and all these Buddhists and non-Buddhists also, maybe Russians, Spanish people, all these people are connected with Bhante Ji regarding his writings and his lectures. So therefore, in the world now, comparing with the monks, leading monks, Bhante Ji is the leader. He is the leading monk regarding the teachings of the Buddha and the wonderful service. Even though he is in 95 years age, still he is giving lectures every Saturday and Sunday, at least 3 lectures per week. given by Bhante ji. So this is the way how still he is continuing his Dhamma service. So today we are gathered here to honor this wonderful service, great service done by our great teacher to the world. So you all are warmly welcome in this moment. We are ready to start our ceremony. I would like to declare the ceremony is starting now. Thank you very much.
Let us now be enchanted by a traditional puja dance performed by Miss Achila Pereira, which is an ancient Sinhala custom that presents ritual music when seeking the blessings of the guardian deities of the land. May I now invite His Excellency Mahinda Samarasinghe, Ambassador of Sri Lanka to the United States, to deliver the welcome speech, setting the tone for this momentous occasion.
මූලාසනාරූඪ අතිපූජ්‍ය ගෞරවනීය අග්ගමහා පණ්ඩිත හේනපොළ ගුණරතන නායක හඳුරන් වහන්සේ ප්‍රධාන සියලුම නායක හඳුරන් වහන්සේලා ඇතුළු ගරුතර මහා සංඝරත්නයන් අවසරයි. Chief Monk of North America of the Shyamapali Mahanikaya of the Malvatta chapter, Agga Mahapandita, Most Venerable Doctor, Henepola Gunarathana Nayaka Mahathero, Venerable Maharagama Dharmasiri Thero, Chief Incumbent of Washington DC Buddhist Vihare, Venerable Katugastota Uparatana Thero, Chief Incumbent of Maryland Buddhist Vihare, Venerable Hungampola Siriratana Nayaka Thero, Chief Incumbent of the New Jersey Buddhist Vihare, Venerable Heen Bunne Kondanja, Chief Incumbent of Staten Island Buddhist Vihare, Venerable Kalputugala Indaratana Thero, Chief Incumbent of the Sri Sambuddha Loka Buddhist Meditation Center, Venerable Aludgama Dharmajodi Thero, Chief Incumbent of New York Buddhist Vihare, Venerable Dr. Dhammadeepa, Trustee Member of the International Buddhist Association of America and Vice President of Chinese Buddhist Sangha Council, Venerable Kottave Nanda Thero, Chief Incumbent of the Long Island Buddhist Meditation Center, Venerable Sura Kulme Premaratana Thero, Chief Incumbent of Pittsburgh Buddhist Center, Venerable Dhammasiri, Secretary to the Cambodian Sangha Council, Venerable Dhammita Bodhi Thero, Chief Incumbent of the Mahavimunava Buddhist Monastery of Greater Washington, Venerable Sagar Nanda, Chinese Buddhist Sangha Council, and the Most Venerable Mahasangha. We also have with us today our dear colleague, Ms. Afri Nakta, Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Bureau of South and Central Asia of the US State Department. We also have with us Mr. Tet Win of the Embassy of the Republic of the Union of Myanmar and the Defense Attaché of the Union of Myanmar. We also have with us the Minister Councillor of the Chinese Embassy. We also have with us Mr. Eric Christensen of the US State Department. We also have with us Mr. Elliot Gruber, Director of the National Postal Museum, United States. Other special invitees, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. We have all come here to honor and celebrate the life and services of an exceptional Buddhist monk. As you heard a little while ago, when the Venerable Sajjadeva, the principal pupil of the Venerable Henepola Gunarathana Thero, say that the Venerable Henepola Gunarathana Thero has been in the US serving US citizens and others for over a period of 55 years of his life. So most of his life has been spent in this country. And what is really significant in this ceremony of the issuance of a stamp by the Government of Sri Lanka to celebrate and honor the life and services of the Most Venerable Dr. Henepola Gunarathana Thero is that the Venerable priest didn't know anything about this. He had no idea that this was mooted by his chief pupil, the Venerable Sajjadeva, secretly, but in a very organized, methodical manner. And the Embassy of Sri Lanka here in Washington, D.C. was very happy to support this request from the President of Sri Lanka, His Excellency President Ranil Wickremesinghe, to consider the issuance of this stamp. Now I want to tell you that this is a rare occasion because very rarely have we, as a government, successive governments in Sri Lanka, very rarely have they issued a stamp in honor of a living individual. All this is happening in the backdrop of celebrating 75 years of independence after 450 years of colonial subjugation and celebrating 75 years of US diplomatic relations. I would say today, as a result of Sri Lanka reaching out and the United States reciprocating in very special ways over the years, that the bilateral relations between our two countries is at high point. We appreciate the openness that your society has always displayed, the accommodation that your society has always displayed, not only to play lip service to the notion of multiculturalism, multi-religious values, the diversity that is so important in any society, the respect and the need to nurture that diversity that is so fundamental in the development of those societies. You have shown all this when you accommodated the first Buddhist temple to be established in Washington, D.C., where the Venerable Henepola Gunarathana was the third chief priest. And from there, it has gone all over the United States. We have a database here in the embassy, and it shows that there are 80 Theravada Sri Lankan origin Buddhist temples all over the United States. Today we count almost 500 million Buddhists all over the world. The latest figures show that there are nearly 4 million Buddhists here in the United States. So all this is happening, as I mentioned earlier, as a chapter to chapter evolving of history. in the late 19th century, a great American, Colonel Henry Steele Olcott, went to Sri Lanka, and along with some of our leading monks like the Venerable Hikkaduwe Sumangala, Nayaka Thero, revived Buddhism. The Buddhist flag that you see displayed here was authored by this great American, Colonel Henry Steele Olcott. So a stamp was issued in Henry Steele Olcott's honor, but 60 years after his death. It was only issued in 1967. He passed away in 1907. It was during a much loved period of a former Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, Dudley Senanayake. So it is very rare that a living personality is issued with this kind of an honor, is given this kind of an honor. I know for a fact that President Wickremesinghe himself personally took this decision. He saw what the Venerable Henepola Gunarathana had done internationally. Before coming to the US, he spent some time in India, he spent some time in Japan, he spent some time in Malaysia, but the bulk of his life and service was spent in the US. And that is why his Nikaya, his chapter, has given him the title of the chief Buddhist prelate for the whole of North America. Apart from the dedication that he has shown in propagating the teachings of the Lord Buddha, he has also led an exemplary life. This is a priest that without thinking twice you can go down on your knees and worship, because he has lived that life. He has tried to live up to the very high standards of the teaching of the Buddha, and he continues to do that. Apart from the West Virginia Meditation Center that he established, he has established many temples right around the US, in Canada. He continues to write. The last time I counted the number of books that he had authored, the count was 50. Out of the 50, 30 are used as standard books, textbooks, translated into 32 languages. Very recently, the New York Times listed his book on mindfulness in plain English as #1 book on meditation. But this is not for personal glory that he has done all this. He's done it out of dedication to the teachings of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. And he continues to do that. So thank you very much for visiting the embassy today and spending this little time with us in honoring this great personality, this monk who has given most of his life to spreading the word of truth and living it, demonstrating himself how a monk should live. I know all of you have this in your heart, and that is why you're here today. So thank you very much once again for being with us. We welcome each and every one of you. May the Triple Gem bestow good health to our Venerable Dr. Henepola Gunarathana Thero. May he continue in the service of the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. We wish you the very best. I know that you will continue to write, you will continue to read this exemplary life, and others will be molded by seeing what you are doing in such simplest manner. And I want to take this opportunity of wishing each and every one of you the blessings of the Triple Gem. Thank you very much.
According to our agenda, next item would be the keynote speech. So, we are talking about the Bhavana Society. Without this person, we are not able to talk about Bhanteji's wonderful service in Bhavana Society. Bhavana Society established by Bhanteji with the help of this person. He is one of pioneer students of Bhanteji. While Bhanteji was in Washington Vihara, one day in the one of evening, this person visited Washington Vihara looking for a meditation teacher. Then he checked with Bhanteji, can I meet chief monk of this temple? Then somehow Dikwela Piyananda Nayaka Thero was resting at that time. Bhanteji had offered, I would like to help you, what kind of things you are looking. So then that person was mentioning, I need to practice meditation, I want to learn meditation. So then Bhanteji offered, okay, because those days Bhanteji was the person who conducted that meditation class in Washington Vihara. So then directly Bhanteji offered that opportunity to that person. He is Matthew Flixin. He is a founder of Bhavana Society, great meditation instructor as well as meditation practitioner and author. So Matt Flixin, this is opportunity for you for your keynote speech.
Venerable Henepola Gunarathana, Venerables, Ambassador, and dear friends, most of us are living in a mind-created dream world. We are born, we grow up, we go to school, we accumulate knowledge, we have relationships. Some of us get married, have children. We have careers. We make money, accumulate possessions, get old, and ultimately die. This seems to be the natural course of one's life. Most people don't know any better. There's a powerful drive that we have to pursue sense pleasures. And it's very difficult to extricate us from the dream that we've been living. And the result is that feeling of stress, depression, and other significant mental difficulties and physical difficulties. So what are we going to do? We can't go to psychiatrists and psychologists and counselors because they're caught in the same net of confusion that we are. Well, fortunately, there have been teachers since the time of the Buddha that have learned more than just the memorization of the sutras. There are teachers that have experienced the Dharma themselves. But those teachers are very hard to find. Well, fortunately, in our midst, we have one such teacher, Bhante Gunarathana. He's been teaching for decades, leading people to discover the Dharma for themselves. Many of you are familiar with Bhante's background and his many accomplishments, so I'm not going to talk about those. But I'm going to talk about Bhante's wisdom and his loving heart through 3 of the books that he has written. And then after that, I'm going to talk about my personal experience with Bhante's wisdom and open heart. And the first book, which has been mentioned many times today, is Mindfulness in Plain English, which expresses Bhante's deep wisdom. As Bhante writes, we all want happiness, peace of mind, and contentment in our lives. But because of delusion and a fragmented mind, the mind is fragmented because the conditioned mind only thinks in terms of dualities. Good versus bad, right versus wrong, ethical versus unethical. So the mind is fragmented because it's always trying to decide which side of those dualities should I choose, not knowing that the other side of the duality is always hiding there in the shadows. So due to our delusion, a fragmented mind, and our attachment to the sense world, we experience physical suffering, psychological distress, and mental confusion. And Bhante talks about the source of this confusion, and that is that we take that which is impermanent to be permanent, that which does not create a sense of satisfaction in our lives for satisfaction, and that which is no self for a sense of self. But fortunately, there is a way out of this pain and suffering that we have. And that is by the application of mindfulness, which is the essence of Bhante's book. Mindfulness is paying bare attention to what happens to us and within us during every moment of experience. It's a kind of attention that's bare of judgment. We're not judging what arises to consciousness. It's bare of decision. We're not deciding whether or not we should have those thoughts or those feelings that are arising to consciousness. And it's bare of commentary. You see, the mind has a comment on everything. And we keep listening to the mind's commentary because we think it's going to say something profound. And it never does. Because everything the mind can think is based upon the past. There's no profundity in the mind. Mindfulness reflects a present moment awareness without the overlays of perceptual distortions, such as our beliefs, ideologies.
In a moment that resonates with honor and gratitude, His Excellency the Ambassador of Sri Lanka will be bestowed with the privilege of presenting this prestigious stamp to the Most Venerable Henepola Gunarathana Thero, an esteemed act symbolizing the heartfelt connection between Thero and the Sri Lankans. This gesture representing the President underscores the magnitude and respect and admiration our nation holds for Thero's lifetime of dedication. Let us now witness this moment as the stamp certified by His Excellency President Ranil Wickremesinghe is issued by the Stamp Authority of Sri Lanka, is presented by His Excellency the Ambassador to the Most Venerable Henepola Gunarathana Thero, a heartfelt token on behalf of the President. This is a tribute that transcends time and distance, encapsulating the Thero's tireless efforts and nation's profound admiration. We arrive at a moment of profound honor as His Excellency the Ambassador of Sri Lanka, Mahinda Samarasinghe, representing the Embassy of Sri Lanka, will now present a commemorative plaque. This signifies our profound admiration and gratitude for the exceptional religious and social services of the Most Venerable Henepola Gunarathana Thero. This is a significant act. His Excellency the Ambassador will be joined by the esteemed diplomatic officers, underscoring the unity of purpose in recognizing Thero's extraordinary contribution.